Hello, and welcome to another video from the YouTube channel, From Religion to Agnostic. Sidon, known locally as Sada or Sida, is the third largest city in Lebanon. It is located in the South Governorate, of which it is the capital, on the Mediterranean coast. Tyre to the south and Lebanese capital Beirut to the north are both about 40 kilometers, 25 miles, away. Sidon has a population of about 80,000 within city limits, while its metropolitan area has more than 250,000 inhabitants. The Phoenician name Sidon probably meant fishery or fishing town. It is mentioned in Papyrus Onostosii as Jaduna. It appears in Biblical Hebrew as Sidon. The name appears in Classical Arabic as Sidon and in Modern Arabic as Sada. As a Roman colony, it was notionally refounded and given the formal name Colonia Aurelia Pia Sidon to honor its imperial sponsor. In the book of Genesis, Sidon was the firstborn son of Canaan, who was a son of Ham, thereby making Sidon a great-grandson of Noah. In history, in the years before Christianity, Sidon had many conquerors: Assyrians, Babylonians, Egyptians, Persians, Greeks, and finally Romans. Herod the Great visited Sidon. Both Jesus and St. Paul are said to have visited it, too. The city was eventually conquered by the Arabs and then by the Ottoman Turks. In prehistory, Sidon has been inhabited since very early in prehistory. The archaeological site of Sidon II shows a lithic assemblage dating to the Acheulean, whilst finds at Sidon III include a heavy Neolithic assemblage suggested to date just prior to the invention of pottery. In Phoenicia in early classical antiquity, Sidon was one of the most important Phoenician cities, and it may have been the oldest. From there and other ports, a great Mediterranean commercial empire was founded. Homer praised the skill of its craftsmen in producing glass, purple dyes, and its women's skill at the art of embroidery. It was also from here that a colonizing party went to found the city of Tyre. Tyre also grew into a great city, and in subsequent years there was competition between the two, each claiming to be the metropolis, mother city, of Phoenicia. Glass manufacturing, Sidon's most important enterprise in the Phoenician era, was conducted on a vast scale, and the production of purple dye was almost as important. The small shell of the Murex trunculus was broken in order to extract the pigment that was so rare it became the mark of royalty. In AD 1855, the sarcophagus of King Eshmanazar II was discovered. From a Phoenician inscription on its lid, it appears that he was a king of the Sidonians, probably in the 5th century BC, and that his mother was a priestess of Ashtart, the goddess of the Sidonians. In this inscription the gods Eshman and Ba, Ul-Sidon, lord of Sidon, who may or may not be the same, are mentioned as chief gods of the Sidonians. Ashtart is entitled Ashtart Shemba, Ul, Ashtart the name of the Lord, a title also found in an Ugaritic text. Nebuchadnezzar II subjugated the city to be part of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. At the end of the Persian era, in 351 BC, Phoenicia was invaded by Artaxerxes III. In the Hellenistic period, like other Phoenician city-states, Sidon suffered from a succession of conquerors. And then by Alexander the Great in 333 BC, when the Hellenistic era of Sidon began. Under the successors of Alexander, it enjoyed relative autonomy and organized games and competitions in which the greatest athletes of the region participated. In the Hellenistic period necropolis of Sidon, important finds such as the Alexander sarcophagus, the Lycian tomb and the sarcophagus of the crying women were discovered, which are now on display at the Archaeological Museum of Istanbul. In the Crusader Ayyubid period, on the 4th of December 1110, Sidon was captured after the siege of Sidon, a decade after the First Crusade, by King Baldwin I of Jerusalem and King Sigurd I of Norway. It then became the center of the lordship of Sidon, an important vassal state of the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Saladin captured it from the Crusaders in 1187, but German Crusaders restored it to Christian control in the Crusade of 1197. It would remain an important Crusader stronghold until it was finally destroyed by the Ayyubids in 1249. In 1260, it was again destroyed by the Mongols led by Kitbuka. The remains of the original walls are still visible. In the Ottoman period, after Sidon came under Ottoman Turkish rule in the early 16th century, it became the capital of the Sidon Eyalet province and regained a great deal of its earlier commercial importance. During the Egyptian-Ottoman War, Sidon, like much of Ottoman Syria, was occupied by the forces of Muhammad Ali of Egypt. His ambitions were opposed by the British Empire, which backed the Ottomans. The British Admiral Charles Napier, commanding a mixed squadron of British, Turkish and Austrian ships, bombarded Sidon on 26 September 1840, and landed with the storming column. Sidon capitulated in 2 days, and the British went on to Acre. This action was recalled in 2 Royal Navy vessels being named HMS Sidon. And next we have after World War I. After World War I it became part of the French Mandate of Lebanon. During World War II the city, together with the rest of Lebanon, was captured by British forces fighting against the Vichy French, and following the war it became a major city of independent Lebanon. Following the Palestinian exodus in 1948, a considerable number of Palestinian refugees arrived in Sidon, as in other Lebanese cities, and were settled at the large refugee camps of Ain el Hilway and Mimi. At first these consisted of enormous rows of tents, but gradually houses were constructed. The refugee camps constituted de facto neighborhoods of Sidon, but had a separate legal and political status which made them into a kind of enclaves. At the same time, the remaining Jews of the city fled, and the Jewish cemetery fell into disrepair, threatened by coastal erosion. Sidon was a small fishing town of 10,000 inhabitants in 1900, but studies in 2000 showed a population of 65,000 in the city, and around 200,000 in the metropolitan area. The little level land around the city is used for cultivation of some wheat, vegetables, and fruits, especially citrus and bananas. The fishing in the city remains active with a newly opened fishery that sells fresh fish by bidding every morning. The ancient basin was transformed into a fishing port, while a small quay was constructed to receive small commercial vessels. Okay, and so before we leave off, in my research I have also found this very interesting article which I will include here, and as always links are in the description box, for you to do further research. Biblical Sidon, Jezebel's hometown. Who are the Sidonians, and what do we know about their religion? The Sidonians were the inhabitants of ancient Sidon, a seaport on the Mediterranean Sea in modern Lebanon. Those familiar with the biblical text will recall that Sidon was an influential, wealthy Phoenician city when the kings of Israel and Judah ruled during the Iron Age. Yet Sidon was a significant site before this period, too. Claude Dumais-Serhal of the British Museum details recent excavations at Sidon in her article, Sidon, Canaan's Firstborn, published in the July and or August 2017 issue of Biblical Archaeology Review. The latest archaeological discoveries shed light on biblical Sidon and provide a window into the Sidonians' polytheistic religion and worship practices during the Bronze and Iron Ages. Who were the Sidonians of the Bronze Age, circa 3000 to 1200 BCE? They were Canaanites and shared numerous similarities, including many of the same gods, with their close neighbors in the southern Levant who were also predominantly Canaanite. Who were the Sidonians of the Iron Age, circa 1200 to 586 BCE? They were Phoenicians. Essentially, the Phoenicians were the Canaanites who survived from the Bronze Age into the Iron Age and who were not supplanted by new people groups, Philistines, Israelites, etc. However, even though their origins were Canaanite, the Phoenicians established their own distinct culture. There was, therefore, continuity in Sidon's population from the Bronze to the Iron Age. Biblical Sidon is perhaps most infamously known as the birthplace of the Phoenician princess Jezebel, 1 Kings 16:31, who became queen of the Israelites during King Ahab's reign in the 9th century BCE, the Iron Age. In the Bible, Jezebel is notorious for persecuting the worship of Yahweh and for demanding that the Israelites worship Baal. Given Jezebel's religious fervor in the Bible, one would expect to find evidence of Baal worship at Sidon. Some extraordinary discoveries from recent excavations have allowed us to partially reconstruct Sidonian religion during the Bronze and Iron Ages, showing that Baal worship at the site had deep roots. Notably, an impressed handle found near a Canaanite grave at the site depicts Sidon's storm god and a ship. Dated to circa 1750 BCE, the handle pictures the storm god as a leonine dragon. Usually the storm god is illustrated as a striding human figure, but sometimes he is represented by one of his symbols, such as the bull or leonine dragon. Dumais-Serhal explains the significance of the handle's iconography. The dragon epitomizes the most fundamental ancient mythical perception of the Mesopotamian storm god. The handle displays an impression of a ship with the leonine dragon Uzumgal, the storm god Adad's attendant, next to it. Adad, the Canaanite Hadad, the Semitic Hadar, the Hurrian Teshub, the Egyptian Resheph, the Phoenician Baal and Orbel, the Sumerian Ishkur, is the Mesopotamian storm god, who has special maritime, celestial and meteorological attributes important to the well-being of sailors. Given Sidon's position on the coast, it is not surprising that the storm god is Sidon's most important god. Indeed, throughout its history, the most important god at Sidon was the storm god known during the Phoenician period as Baal or Bel. Alrighty, and that will do it for this video. Catch you on the next one. Have a great day, and be safe. If you enjoyed this video, please think about subscribing, as well as hitting the like and sharing would help out a lot. Thank you all, and may the gods guide you in your journey. Stay blessed.